And we've got a big breaking story coming in between Bollywood and the Kannada film industry. It's a huge superstar language war that has now erupted between Kannada superstar Kiccha Sudeep and Bollywood star Ajay Devgn. Bollywood actor Ajay Devgn has entered into a language war directly after Kiccha Sudeep, the Kannada star, speaking to India Today's Karnataka Tak YouTube channel, where he had made a comment saying that Hindi is not my mother tongue or my national language. Ajay Devgn has now shot back at Kiccha Sudeep, tagging the Kannada actor and saying, "My brother, according to you, if Hindi is not our national language, then why do you release your mother tongue movies by dubbing them in Hindi? Hindi was, is and always will be our mother tongue and national language." A superstar language war with a filmy twist has erupted on the back of an interview that Kiccha Sudeep has given to India Today's Karnataka Tak YouTube news channel, and has become now a huge manifestation of the ongoing language and cinema war between South and North. It's an especially sensitive issue in Karnataka, where there has been a big backlash against Hindi. And now Kiccha Sudeep has become the epicenter of attacks from Bollywood superstar Ajay Devgn. I want to play out for you in just a moment what Kiccha Sudeep had said. It's a Kannada interview on Karnataka Tak, which is a brand new YouTube channel that we've launched. Go and check it out. It's already creating waves. On that channel, Kiccha Sudeep, the actor on your left, Kannada superstar, has said this. Take a look. It up so that we can play out the precise moment, the precise few seconds where Kiccha Sudeep's comments have been taken and used as ammunition to hit back at the Kannada actor by Ajay Devgn. This has become a superstar. I hope there are no mess ups now. Let's play it up.
Hindi is no more national language. So which is the national language today? Which is the national language?
No national language.
Correct? So what is pan-India? Just because ನಾವು ಕನ್ನಡ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೀವಿ ಅಂತ ನಾವು ಆ ಟರ್ಮ್ ಹಾಕ್ಬೇಕಾ ಪ್ಯಾನ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ ಅಂದ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು? ಅರೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಸಿನಿಮಾ ನಾವೆಲ್ಲ ಕಡೆ ಬಿಡ್ತೀವಿ, ನೋಡೋದು ಬಿಡೋದು ಜನಕ್ಕೆ ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ದು, ಪ್ರಯತ್ನ ಪಡೋದು ಮಾತ್ರ ನಾವಿರೋದು. So because we come from South India, they've started terming us pan-India, pan-India, pan-India. Why isn't Hindi being said as pan-India? ಅವರು ಇವತ್ತು ತೆಲುಗು, ತಮಿಳು, ಮಲಯಾಳಂ ಎಲ್ಲ ಕಡೆನೂ ಅವರು ಡಬ್ ಮಾಡಿಬಿಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ, ಓಡ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಬಟ್ ಇಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಮಾಡಿ ಡಬ್ ಆಗಿರೋದು ಅಲ್ಲೂ ಓಡ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. So which is having a better reaction from the audiences today? ಇವತ್ತು ನೀವು ಪುಷ್ಪ ತಗೊಳ್ಳಿ, ನೀವು KGF ತಗೊಳ್ಳಿ, ನಾನು ಕೇಳ್ತಾ ಇರೋದು ಇವರೆಲ್ಲ ಪ್ರಯತ್ನ ಪಟ್ಟರು, ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಗೆದ್ರು.
Incredible. So Kiccha Sudeep has really set the cat among the pigeons and basically called out the Bollywood clique by saying, "Why do you call us pan-India? We are Indian cinema. Just because Hindi is considered the national language, we don't look at it that way." But now Ajay Devgn has hit back at Kiccha Sudeep and saying, if you don't consider it the national language, then why do you dub your Kannada movies also in Hindi? It's become ugly. It's become very personal. Karnataka Tak has just broken this. I want to go across to India Today's Nagarjun Dwarakanath, who's got us this story. Nagarjun, take us through precisely, just in case I have missed anything, precisely what Kiccha Sudeep has said, which has rubbed Ajay Devgn the wrong way, so much so that he has decided to actually tweet. He has picked up and reacted to what Sudeep has said to Karnataka Tak. Naga.
That's true, Shiv. In fact, not just Sudeep, many Kannada actors, when you talk to them off record, endorse the same sentiments. What Kiccha Sudeep was saying is, we were talking about Pushpa and KGF and RRR, Bahubali. These are the movies in the last 3-4 years which have made box office sounds and which have in fact made Bollywood movies get out of the theaters, and then the South Indian movies coming in. So Sudeep was saying that why do you call South Indian movies when they do well across India as pan-India movies? When Bollywood movies do well in South India, maybe in Chennai or Bangalore or Trivandrum, We don't term Hindi movies as pan-India. Why? But that has to change. Hindi is not a national language. It is just another language of the North India, which is doing well in South India. So do not go by the language and say pan-India. It was just the hard work of the movie maker, the director and the actor, and the story and the script, which is fine. And audience have accepted. He also goes further and says that Bruce Lee movies, Charlie Chaplin movies, back then used to run across the world. Do we call them pan-globe or pan-world movies? No, we just call them as movies. So just because a South Indian movie doing well in Hindi market, you can't term us as pan-India movies. Hindi is not even a national language. Kannada is also as equal as Hindi is what the sentiments of the Kannada superstar is. But Ajay Devgn seems to have taken it personally and is attacking Kiccha Sudeep, saying that if you want to have this sentiment, why do you release your movies dubbing into Hindi? And still for me, Hindi is the national language and my mother tongue. It seems like ugly war of words, and it has got personal with Ajay Devgn tweeting right now.
I completely agree. Not that my opinion matters, but I completely agree with what Sudeep has said. Why call them pan-Indian movies, for God's sake? And why is Ajay Devgn taking this so personally? Frankly, looks quite, defensive of Ajay Devgn to get into this and say, it will be our mother tongue now and in the future, and Jan Gan Mana, come on. I mean, why is he taking it so personally? What Sudeep has said actually makes sense. Why have this hypocritical definition of pan-India for movies made in the South that do well in the North? When it is a fact that Hindi is a sensitive issue when it comes to the southern states, and therefore a certain amount of sensitivity needs to be shown. I want to bring Akshita back in on this. She's covered many aspects of the language war in Tamil Nadu as well as in Karnataka. Big filmy twist. Akshita, what are you making of this? Sudeep, big superstar in Kannada cinema. Ajay Devgn, big Bollywood superstar. Hindi versus Kannada, and it's gotten personal now.
So true, Shiv, and I tend to agree, with what you have to say. But essentially, what you're seeing right now, and I'm sure you'd agree that in the last few weeks, months, etc., we've always been seeing this raging debate, limited largely, at least considered to be limited, to Tamil Nadu. What essentially has been established right now is that this isn't limited to one state. It's a sentiment that the South feels very strongly about. And the fact that now you're seeing so many of these superstars like Kiccha Sudeep speak out, that voice has come from the fact that you have films like an RRR, like a Pushpa, like a KGF2, doing so extremely well right now. And that's where perhaps this entire narrative has come forward, where the likes of Kiccha Sudeep.
Absolutely. And, Naga, I just want to know, we'll just get that connection fixed with Akshita. Before I go back to Naga, let me play out for you once again what Kiccha Sudeep, Kannada superstar, has just told Karnataka Tak. And the video has already started creating big waves. We don't need to exaggerate that. Ajay Devgn has jumped in to react to this Karnataka Tak super exclusive. Take a look at what the Kannada star said that has evoked this very personal reaction from the Bollywood star.
Hindi is no more national language. So which is the national language today? Which is the national language?
No national language.
Correct? So what is pan-India? ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ನಾವು ಕನ್ನಡ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೀವಿ ಅಂತ ನಾವು ಆ ಟರ್ಮ್ ಹಾಕಬೇಕಾ ಪ್ಯಾನ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ ಅಂದ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು. ಅರೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಸಿನಿಮಾ ನಾವು ಎಲ್ಲ ಕಡೆ ಬಿಡ್ತೀವಿ, ನೋಡೋದು ಬಿಡೋದು ಜನಕ್ಕೆ ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ದು, ಪ್ರಯತ್ನ ಪಡೋದು ಮಾತ್ರ ನಾವಿರೋದು. ಸೊ ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ವಿ ಕಮ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ಸೌತ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ, ದೇ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟೆಡ್ ಟರ್ಮಿಂಗ್ ಎಸ್ ಪ್ಯಾನ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ ಪ್ಯಾನ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ ಪ್ಯಾನ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ. ವೈ ಇಸಂಟ್ ಹಿಂದಿ ಬೀಯಿಂಗ್ ಸೆಡ್ ಎಸ್ ಪ್ಯಾನ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ? ಅವರು ಇವತ್ತು ತೆಲುಗು, ತಮಿಳು, ಮಲಯಾಳಂ ಎಲ್ಲ ಕಡೆನೂ ಅವರು ಡಬ್ ಮಾಡಿಬಿಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ, ಓಡ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಬಟ್ ಇಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಮಾಡಿ ಡಬ್ ಆಗಿರೋದು ಅಲ್ಲೂ ಓಡ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. So which is having a better reaction from the audiences today? ಇವತ್ತು ನೀವು ಪುಷ್ಪ ತಗೊಳ್ಳಿ, ನೀವು KGF ತಗೊಳ್ಳಿ, ನಾನು ಕೇಳ್ತಾ ಇರೋದು ಇವರೆಲ್ಲ ಪ್ರಯತ್ನ ಪಟ್ಟರು, ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಗೆದ್ರು.
Nabila also joins our coverage. Akshita and Naga continue to be with us. Nabila, Sudeep is talking from a position of power right now, isn't he? The fact that South cinema has completely, made small potatoes of Bollywood and other parts of the country when it comes to box office performance. So, this is already a very sensitive issue, but to call South cinema that does well in the North pan-India has clearly touched a raw nerve. So, Sudeep reacting in this way is in some senses pretty understandable at this time. Nabila.
You know, Shiv, what we see of the Southern stars and the frustration that comes is from this constant imposition of Hindi to be pushed as a national language. From what we hear from the actors of the South, which they say time and again, is that they're not against the language of Hindi at all. They're just against the fact that there is a push for one language to become a national language. The same way, if there's a push for Kannada to become a national language, you have the Hindi belt, which will not be okay with it. That's the same way if you push for a Hindi, a North India language, a North Indian language to be considered as a national pan-India language, the South will not be okay with it. And this is exactly from the point of view where we see a Southern actor speaking time and again. And now we're looking at actors like Yash, for that matter, who's made waves with his film even in the Hindi belt.
Yeah.
Even for that matter, Kiccha Sudeep's Makhi, this film that he did called Makhi, did very, very well in Hindi and several other languages apart from Kannada alone. So Southern stars are really finding an audience across the North belt, and they believe that every language must be considered equally and given equal importance and not Hindi alone. Clearly, Kiccha Sudeep has been championing the cause of Kannada language for a long time now, and he's not going to take well of what Ajay Devgn said when it comes to dubbing, because even Ajay Devgn's films, many of them have been inspired from South Indian films, inspired from Kannada movies.
Why is
remake.
I for the life of me don't know why. You know, with all respect to Ajay Devgn, because he's a superstar in his own right, he's achieved a lot as well. But why is he getting so defensive and getting personal? Naga, you know, I hope the Kannada stars are going to react to what Ajay Devgn has said, because he's gotten personal now. Karnataka Tak has made this huge wave now.
Shiv, not only Kannada actors will endorse or support Sudeep here, I'm also waiting for the pro-Kannada organizations which have a strong say in terms of cinema, water, land and culture for Karnataka. They too will hit back at Ajay Devgn and stand by Sudeep as to what Sudeep said is completely right, is what pro-Kannada organizations will also say here. Sudeep was talking about how the recent movies have done extremely well in across India market. So don't call us pan-India. We are just good movies who have clicked with the audience. It has nothing to do with any language or the way that.
Naga, apologies for interrupting you. Prakash Belwadi is with me on the phone line. Prakash ji, thank you very much for being with us. I don't know if you've seen this breaking story, Prakash sir, of Kiccha Sudeep has basically said, why do you define South Indian cinema, which does well in the North, as pan-India? You know, we are also Indian films. It is not fair that you treat South Indian films unfairly when you consider, you know, Hindi as national cinema and national language. It has sparked a very ugly kind of language war between Kiccha Sudeep and Ajay Devgn. Prakash sir, how do you see this? Mr. Belwadi, can you hear me? Okay, we've lost that link. We'll get back to Prakash Belwadi, who is a very well-known actor from Karnataka. He will be speaking to us in just a moment. We'll get voices from other places as well in just a moment. But Nabila, do you think that, you know, you've seen what Ajay Devgn has just said? Do you think that Kannada stars, and like Nagarjun was just mentioning, you know, the groups that are usually quite trigger happy when it comes to comments of this kind, they will all be galvanized now? I think Ajay Devgan's going to get it back.
You know, Shiv, just reminding you, very recently, Telugu film that did very, very well. In fact, on a international platform, was not considered. It was in fact considered as a South Indian film, while a Hindi movie was deemed as an Indian movie. A Hindi film was called as an Indian movie, and a South film was called as a South Indian film. So this was what Chiranjeevi took objection to, and we're not just looking at Kiccha Sudeep speaking for Hindi not to be made the national language. We're also looking at several Tamil stars, Telugu stars who've been championing the cause that Hindi should not be superimposed as one unifying Indian language, because there are several other languages, and for South Indians, Hindi is certainly not the first language. In fact, English is still more familiar for the South Indians rather than Hindi, and therefore this war will continue. What Ajay Devgn has said about Hindi will be our mother tongue. For South Indians, Hindi has never been the mother tongue, will not be the mother tongue.
Akshita, you know, you've reported on the language wars in both, Tamil Nadu and Karnataka. You know, just give us some context of why this is so personal and why this could really raise the hackles even in the public mind, because people feel very defensive about this whole Hindi versus South Indian languages issue. And now to see two superstars slugging it out over this, is something that can become quite provocative, Akshita.
It's always been very political, hasn't it, Shiv? You've seen so much of politics around this issue in Tamil Nadu, in Karnataka. It's permeated into the film industry now. And that itself shows you that the sentiment, if anything isn't dying down, it's only becoming stronger. The voice is becoming stronger right now. The fact that you have a Kiccha Sudeep, the fact that you have an A.R. Rahman, and so many other stars starting the cross-film industry. We're talking about Sandalwood, Hollywood, many in Bollywood, Tollywood also, who've spoken out on this, saying, look, start recognizing us as one of the big film industries. Don't think India equals Bollywood. That seems to be the message largely that they're speaking out. And, I want to again touch upon why right now they're speaking. It's because of the fact that, they've perhaps gathered this confidence over the reason that you have so many of these South films, so many of the Telugu, Kannada, Tamil films that are doing so much better.
And the story has moved forward. Akshita, we'll just get back on, we'll just fix that audio with you. But the story has moved forward because Kiccha Sudeep has now reacted. He has reacted to Ajay Devgn's kind of ambush of him saying, why do you dub your films in Hindi if you don't think Hindi is a national language? He has said, hello, Ajay Devgn. The context I said that line is entirely different to the way I guess it has reached you. Probably will emphasize why in person I respect all languages. I would want this topic to rest. So Kiccha Sudeep, being the bigger guy, showing a little bit of maturity here, after sort of setting fire to this entire issue, he said, that's not what I meant. And this comes in the face of a pretty personal and pretty aggressive kind of statement from Ajay Devgn. Of course, it was said very politely, Nagarjun, very politely it was said. But, we all know that when it comes to Hindi versus South Indian languages, there's no time for niceties. So it looks like Kiccha Sudeep has realized that and wanted to kind of diffuse the situation a little bit. Star to star, Naga.
Well, that's true. In fact, Sudeep has been the bigger person. I just saw his tweet as well. He's saying this is not the context that I spoke about. It was not about the language war that was addressing. I was just talking about movies. In fact, if you look at our interview in Kannada also, the question was about Pushpa movie being pan-India, KGF movie being pan-India, RRR movie being pan-India in the recent times. And how does Kiccha feel about good movies reaching audiences from Kashmir to Kanyakumari? That is when Kiccha himself said that, why do you call us pan-India? Hindi is not a national language. It was just a trigger is what I feel. But this was the opinion of Kiccha Sudeep. But however, Ajay Devgn has taken it personally. And to add to it, in fact, the last hit of Ajay Devgn movie was a South Indian movie, RRR, where SS Rajamouli had directed with Junior NTR and Ram Charan. So I don't know why Ajay Devgn took it very offensively and, hit out Kiccha Sudeep very personally. There will be repercussions for this tweet. People in Karnataka, especially the pro-Kannada organizations, will have a chance right now to defend Sudeep and hit back at Ajay Devgn and Bollywood. We'll have to see how this will turn out. Even politicians are likely to get involved is what I can foresee from here on. But Kiccha Sudeep has put the controversy to rest by saying this is not what I meant. I will come meet you personally and explain. And you know me, I have no intentions to hurt anyone and I respect all languages.
Nagarjun, Nabila, Akshita, thanks very much for getting us perspective on this breaking story here on India Today. Karnataka Tak is a brand new YouTube channel that the India Today group has launched. It's in the Kannada language. Go check it out. Remember, there's an election next year in Karnataka. I'm glad to see that Karnataka Tak is already creating waves. It's being watched everywhere. It's got a big Bollywood star to react to one of its exclusive interviews. That's what India Today's Taks are really all about.